Morning, Kevin. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing, Peter?
Yes, I'm very good indeed. Thanks. Kevin, welcome to the Business Spotlight. Thanks very much for taking the time to chat with me today. Could we
Happy
start?
to, yeah.
Could you tell me a little about yourself, your background, and your business, please?
Yeah, I'm a solicitor. I practiced both in Northern Ireland and the Republic. I qualified in 1986, so nearly 40 years ago. I qualified in the South about 25 years ago. It's a family law firm. My great uncle was a solicitor in 1901, so we're nearly on our 125th anniversary. So my kids are in the business. My sisters are lawyers. My father was a lawyer. So we've been in Neary since then, and then we've branched out through other towns in Northern Ireland, setting up the law group in the last 10 years. Yeah.
And what type of work do you guys do? What are what's the sort of fields of expertise that you cover?
Well, we have we enter about 20 lawyers at the minute. I think the head count's about 20 throughout all of the offices. And we do everything, I suppose, as most of our work is in provincial towns in Northern Ireland. I do a lot of commercial tax, trusts, litigation, but we carry a broad sphere apart from that. We do normal conveyancing, agricultural conveyancing, business planning, lots of normal business services for people, and in both jurisdictions on the island. Yeah.
And I mean, you've seen a lot of change in your time. If you qualified, I think, did you say 1986? Is that when you?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it is.
So that's I don't want to keep mentioning it. I mean, you've seen a lot of stuff. What have been the biggest changes that you've seen in your tenure?
Well, I think I suppose the great acceleration towards email in the last 5 years. There's a greater tendency for people to send entire packages of documents as PDFs or data files or data rooms. There isn't, I suppose, as we hope, to less paper. There's probably more paper. If people can give you a 200-page lease from a word processor, they will. Whereas back in my father's day, the lease might have been 10 pages because you had to type it all out. Now there is a kitchen sink approach to drafting, which is makes things longer and longer and more complex. That I suppose, and I suppose an increased expectation by people. They send an email and suddenly they decide that they want a response by lunchtime today because they wanted a response by lunchtime today. There isn't actually often any necessity for incessant 20 emails a day with those same person, but it's what happens these days.
And how do you deal with that? That's quite a common challenge from business owners where they end up being the recipient of a lot of people pressing the send button on a phone or a keyboard.
It's difficult because you try to be polite, and it's difficult to manage people's expectations in that regard. I suppose people, because they don't have to pay for the stamp on a letter, and they don't have to wait for it to be posted or for it to be delivered, they feel that somehow there's an automatic entitlement for a response by return, and that everyone should drop everything. So you try and be nice. I know a lot of people adapt their out of office hours and responses to try and tell people that they're going to triage emails and answer the emergency ones and put the others in a back burner. But it's a difficult balance. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a fairly common challenge that. And what would you say has been your biggest lesson that you'd like to share as a business owner?
I suppose as somebody who runs a business, I suppose it is about profitability and margin, and turnover isn't everything at the same time. In a business such as the law, increased turnover brings with it increased risk. Too many transactions done too cheaply, each one could have a fatal consequence as regards professional negligence. So you should be mindful that you have to do work carefully and properly and at a profit.
And how much time or how much time are you able to spend balancing between working in the business and working on the business?
Well, I still do most of my time as a practicing lawyer. So I have to try and cram the rest of it in probably at night mostly, unfortunately. So you have to justify your existence as a worker as well as a manager, I suppose.
And what have you learned most about yourself along the way, Kevin?
I suppose I like hard work. And if I didn't, I wouldn't have gone on the practice acquisition trail to open other offices. I mean, that's what we've done over the last 10 years. I like the intellectual challenge of law. I mean, it does require knowledge, and you are always learning, and everything is always different, and things always change. That's society and the law. Everything is reformed. There are new practices, new legislation, new inventions, everything changes. So we have to try and keep up with a changing world.
And what about who's influenced you the most along your business journey?
I suppose my father, who was a very good lawyer, and who I do recall when he said to me once I had written the usual letter that a young lawyer did, or was accustomed to do, which was that I was shocked and surprised that somebody had done something, and he put a red pen through the shocked and surprised, and reminded me that no one should ever be shocked and surprised what lawyers will do to each other. And so I think I remembered that as being, I've tried and repeat that exercise with other people to tell them to not be so shocked and surprised. Just be, they can be disappointed too, but they shouldn't really be disappointed either. That's I suppose I've learned that, which is that to expect the worst of people maybe.
What about now as you sort of look, I mean, the business, well, 100, I know you haven't been there from the start, obviously, but 125 years next year. So what gets you out of bed in the morning, drives your passion for your business?
It is that, I suppose it is the idea of something interesting to do. We do lots of interesting work. I mean, I've taken a couple of cases to Europe. I've done a lot of work that hasn't been done before. I suppose things that are different, learning two different legal systems, and litigating in both is and requires a lot of learning. So I like all that, I suppose.
And if you had an unlikely event that you were on a desert island and could pick a book to read or a podcast to listen to or both, what would you choose?
Well, I'm in a book club, so we do a lot of reading. If I can get around to it in the evenings and I'm not too exhausted. I suppose what I have liked best as regards books are if you a desert island book, something that might last me might be Tess of the D'Urbervilles or something like that. I like Hardy, and um, so maybe that's an example of a book I might read and reread, I suppose, if it's on a desert island.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge that you're currently facing in business?
Staffing, without a doubt. We can't get enough lawyers and we can't get enough support staff. It's very difficult to get the right quality of people for either job. The market is very competitive, and people come along, but they're not necessarily of the quality you'd want.
And how long has it been like that for, Kevin?
Well, I suppose it has it always been thus. I suppose it has, but I think it's worse at the moment. There's more. I mean, we're at I suppose consistent full employment, aren't we, for a while, although people may not admit it. And so there's more pressure on people have more job offers. You know.
And if you could invite any three people to a dinner party, let's go a bit off piste here. So if you could invite any three people to a dinner party, who would you invite?
I suppose I'll pick some lawyers because I'm a lawyer for a start. Maybe Lord Denning, who was, when I was in college, was fresher to people than he is now, and but was always known for his very witty judgments, and written in a very unusual style. And so that's one person I expect to be he was supposed to be quite an entertaining man. And maybe someone I would, maybe another one would be somebody I admire would be Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who people would know from the movie about her life, because she's such an inspiring person for people who believe in civil rights, etc. And I don't know, maybe somebody else from another. Why not try someone like Steve Jobs, who always seemed very interesting in all the videos I've ever seen of his lectures, etc. So there's three, a couple of lawyers and a billionaire. And
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Steve Jobs, he would crop up quite a bit in on that question when I'm speaking to other business owners. So yeah, an absolutely fascinating character.
absolutely, yes. I like Apple stuff. So, yeah, no, that's three for you. I think it's
That'll be a good night. I think that'll be a good night,
yeah.
Kevin. What about if you could go back in time and give the young 18-year-old Kevin Neary some advice? What would that sound like?
Um, I suppose get on with it and enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Careers go past very quickly, and if you have a plan to do something, go and do it. I know I've watched a lot of my friends progress to the bench in the High Court and beyond, and if you have a plan to want to do any of those sort of things, set out the groundwork for it. It never really was my plan, but those sort of things, if you want to do something, you know, you're going to have to set your groundwork out in your 20s and 30s to get the right experience and have the right CV to move on and do something else if that's what you plan to do.
And instead of looking back, let's look forward, Kevin. So what does your business look like in 5 years' time, 2030?
Maybe slightly bigger. We're probably not planning to get a whole lot bigger, and hopefully a lot more profitable. Maybe we are profitable, but you can never be too profitable, I suppose. We offer a value for money, I'd like to think, for people. So they focus on profit. Don't want to put anybody off. But I suppose a successful, proper, respected business that people can rely on to do things efficiently, I suppose, is what we'd like to think we are and will remain.
And if someone would like to reach out to you or the business, one of the practices, what would be the best way for them to go about that?
Well, all of our practices in each of the towns has its own website, etc. In Neary, I'm at dndlaw.com, and the law group has its own website, and it's thelawgroup.co. You know, where you can Google us in any town, you'll find us, the law group. And I work principally off my Neary account.
Good stuff. Well, Kevin Neary from the Law Group, thanks very much for taking the time to chat with me this morning. I wish you a happy birthday. That's a big one next year, 125 years. My goodness, what a terrific achievement. And yeah, look, thanks very much for sharing your story. And I wish you every success beyond the 125-year anniversary and into the future. Thanks very much.
Let's hope so. Yes, indeed. Thanks very much. Thanks for the time. It's very interesting. Thank you. Bye-bye now.